That is beautiful.
Hello, Shan. How's everything?
All is well.
And hello,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello, Subhraj. Welcome to the Digital Mindmeld, and we are finally meeting in person after quite a long time.
Quite a few years.
Yes, quite a few
Quite a few
years.
years.
Quite a few years. And yeah, I mean, why not you just first introduce yourself a little bit to my audience
Sure.
about what you do and what you bring to the table, and then we just type it, like goes
Sure.
straight into the material.
Sure. So, I'm Subhraj Ghosh. I am a guitarist and music educator based out of Kolkata in India. And I teach music online. And I also play with a bunch of people, a bunch of local gigs in Kolkata, in Bombay, around that area. And also, for myself, I explore a lot of solo guitar playing, specifically more towards the improvisation side of things. And that's pretty much what my life is about. Yeah.
Right, right. That's fantastic, and I really loved what you played at the start of the show. What I want to start with this particular podcast is that art in general has been there has been a lot of projections about it that there is going to be a new boom in the art industry, but in 2026 and beyond, what I feel is that art has to be accompanied with entrepreneurship. Idea to what exactly do you sell, right? Because the whole concept of value seems to be going through a crisis right now. Exactly what exactly is value?
Hmm.
So, how exactly do you think that uh, entrepreneurial ideas basically can be introduced into art? And what exactly does a person need to upskill themselves or dive deep into in order to be more sustainable?
I think the idea of entrepreneurship in music or in art in general have been in existence since the beginning of business, to begin with, like be it in the form of live performances, be it in the form of selling a painting, be it in the form of commercializing, let's say, mandala arts, for example. Right. So I think it's been there. As far as like adding entrepreneurship to like an artist's vocabulary is concerned, I think not every artist may be looking into it as much.
Hmm.
Like I have been fortunate enough to grow up in a family where my father is an entrepreneur as well. My mom has also worked in the same company with him. My brother has also worked for multiple companies in the past, and now he has his own digital marketing agency. And since I am a full-time musician, even though I have done a lot of part-time jobs in the past, I've never done a full-time job. But as a musician, your career is sort of more towards entrepreneurship anyway, whether somebody accepts it or not, right? Even if you are playing with multiple bands, it's not like a job, is it? Right. So if it's not like a job, you're basically self-employed anyway. If you're self-employed, we are talking about entrepreneurship, right? Now, I think maybe what a lot of people miss out on is certain characteristics of an entrepreneur, right? For me, again, like I said, like having been fortunate enough to grow up, like seeing my father be an entrepreneur, there are things you learn, like the first thing you learn is resilience. I think that's one of the most important characteristics of any entrepreneur, like never giving up. I've seen him on his worst days that he has kept a positive mind and he has just not given up on his company. Even during COVID, he paid salaries to his employees. Like that requires a lot of resilience. Like in fact, there have been times where he has not drawn a salary from the company, just to make sure that other people get paid, right? Then there are also other characteristics of an entrepreneur. For example, you don't see the money that's coming into you. You do not see it as like a monthly income anymore. It's really more of a paycheck to paycheck thing, in at least in my case. And any of my expenses. My expenses are still monthly, but then I sort of have to manage my money accordingly to make sure that I am not missing out on bills, right? Another thing to consider for an entrepreneur would be what you're doing. To some degree, it has to be dignified as well for yourself, while at the same time having enough commercial value that people will pay you for your services or people will pay you for your product. Like you said, what are you bringing to the table?
I want to question you further there and probe a little bit, because what I see, something that is devastatingly missing in the market is, so if we take a cross product of whatever are the deliverables of a particular task or a job, or even if it's a product, like you break it down into its raw components, right? And you see the cost involved, and you make a profit margin, and you make a sale price, and you sell, right? Now, the fact is that with the advent of AI, what has been happening is that there is a huge scale democratization of knowledge and information. Like as a kid, I remember, like, I mean, if I had to pick up something from the record, I had to listen to it again and
Right.
again, right? And even our teacher, like our OG teacher, Omidda, and I mean, he used to put a set of coins on top of the gramophone so that it slows down, and that's how he used to make sense of the solos of whatever he wants to
Right.
transcribe. But that's no longer required, because you can go to YouTube and just
You can seek through things.
you
You
can
could
see.
also just download the audio, put it into Logic or GarageBand, loop up a section, and then work on your transcription accordingly. Yeah.
Totally, totally,
I think
totally.
this is sort of related to, earlier off camera, we were talking about
Yeah,
some of the advantages and disadvantages of AI.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is one of those advantages. Even though this is not particularly AI, it's really more of technological advancements,
Pretty much,
which,
pretty much, pretty much.
yeah,
But
but
what
AI
is
can use that as well.
100%, 100%. But the major part that is crazily missing is that if a human does something,
Right.
there is a certain amount of billable hours, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Absolutely.
There is some way in which you can justify a payment of X amount of
Correct.
dollars, rupees,
Absolutely.
whatever that is, right? My question is that, like, I mean, if you bring AI to the table, right, and you do some of it with AI and some of it as a human, at the end of the day, you're still the master, of course, because you still have to
You're
make the
using it like a
planning.
tool.
You're using it
Yeah.
as a tool, but now the bill has to be revised a little bit, because what took you maybe 5 days to do maybe can be done in a day. So you still have 4 more days to do something else for a different set of clientele, right? How exactly do you basically differentiate value? Because what this particular bill is just a proxy for value here. That's what I'm trying to really, really communicate. Because whenever something is scanty, that becomes valuable. Like, you're not looking out for aluminum and gonna pay a hefty amount of price to buy a kilo of it, because you don't need it maybe. But you
Right.
would pay a hefty amount of price to buy gold because it's scanty.
Right.
But in Spain, back in the 1600s, what happened was that aluminum was heavily in demand because it was scanty, right? So, with knowledge being democratized and being abundant, basically, what remains scanty, and what that's what I want to understand.
That's a really cool topic you've brought up over there. I think, like, for me, my only use of AI would be probably, like, sometimes if I am responding to a YouTube comment where my answer is becoming a little complicated, like, because I can read and tell that, what, like, maybe what I'm writing here is a little too long or too complicated, or maybe it's not, let's say, formatted well enough the way I'm doing it, because my wife is a content writer. So, like, anytime I don't format it right, she's like, come on. Right. So I use maybe Chat GPT or Gemini to just fine tune that a little bit, and then, write out the comment. Sometimes I just copy paste it. Or my other use for AI would be, let's say, maybe I don't know about a certain kind of topic, or maybe a certain kind of a concept is brought in front of me, and I ask maybe ChatGPT or Gemini to just simplify it for me, and then I'm like, oh, this is basically that other concept that I know, And
And what if I basically do something like a Pixar movie, like I use a Google Omni model, which is a multimodal model, or anything, any Chinese cheaper ones?
but before that, I just want to kind of complete that
Yeah,
previous
yeah,
point.
yeah. Please.
That is pretty much my only use of AI. I do not, because in my teaching I don't use AI, and like not one bit. I do not use AI to come up with any kind of lesson material. In fact, I'm fairly old school. I actually usually have my students write things out by hand on their notebooks.
Sure.
Yeah, because I just personally feel that that works better. Just psychologically speaking, that just works better, because even when I have tried learning something from PDF, it has not worked as well as me trying to learn something from an actual physical book, or actually writing out that concept on my diary over there or in some kind of a notebook and feeling myself writing it out. I think that still plays a very integral part in human learning, and that is probably not going to be replaced. So I don't use AI in my teaching at all, right? Only in things related to like non-teaching stuff. Like for example, I might use like one of these AI apps to calculate something for me. I
Sure.
might use one of these AI app to maybe just research what could be my next YouTube video, or like, just fine tune the caption that I'm writing for my Instagram post, or what could be like, the best tags to use for it. That's what I usually use it for. Now, those are not things that I'm monetizing.
That's marketing, though. I
That's
mean,
more of marketing, but
yeah.
I'm not monetizing. Like, I'm not getting any kind of monetary benefit from that. That is more of like me marketing myself and me putting myself out there. And at this point, I think all the students I have basically come from my YouTube or my Instagram. You know.
All right.
Yeah. So at this
So
point,
that
it's either word of mouth or just the content I've put up. So, like, that's just the point I wanted to complete, like, before you were
yes,
going to
yes,
the other
yes,
part.
yes, yes.
Now, with what you're bringing up, where, like, if we are using a certain kind of AI platform, which pretty much does everything, where, like, they're also creating the video for you, there, I think the perspective slightly changes. Like, in my case, somebody is paying me my charges because it's also me doing everything myself. I do not, like, you know me well enough, so you know that I don't have anybody employed to work for me. Right? I make my own videos, I edit my own videos. I literally sometimes record the Zoom video and I send it to the student myself. I make my own receipts and I send it to the students myself. All of it. So, and I think that is probably the value, part of the value, apart from the teaching, obviously, and the knowledge that I'm sharing, that I get paid for. Now, if we are talking about a complete product, like you're saying,
Yes.
there the perspective changes, because here that human touch is not really there, is there? It's more of a prompt thing. Now, of course, giving a prompt itself is an art. If you give the wrong prompt to an AI, it's gonna give you the wrong kind of product, right? But having said that, you are still saving on a lot of video editing costs, you're saving on a lot of
Yeah.
lighting costs, you're
Yeah.
saving on a lot of human labor cost. So at that point, actually bringing down the price makes sense, right? Like maybe if you were to record an ad for somebody, you'd be spending lakhs. Whereas if an AI agent is making it for you and you're hiring somebody to put in the right prompts, you're probably spending a few thousand rupees for that.
Max.
Yeah. Which I think, again, has its advantages and disadvantages, because I am sure that real, what's the word for it? Videography.
Okay.
Is that the word for it?
Videography. That's.
I don't think like an actual human being trying to do videography and trying to be creative will really go out of fashion. The demand might go down because it's obviously more expensive than an AI platform doing it for you, you know. So I think it really just depends. Some clients will rather pay more for that human touch. Some clients will probably not want to spend that much, and I don't think marketing really cares about that as much. What marketing really cares more about is getting more business in. So
Right.
if a company can get in more business by spending less, they will do it, because from an entrepreneurship point of view, you want to spend less and earn more anyway, right?
That's
So
correct.
I wish I could give you a more straight up answer, but I like to be diplomatic because I don't believe that I can always be on just one side, because
Maybe we
you
take one
know,
step back, because I
yeah.
think that's going to be much more helpful, because what I really want to is not exactly the end bill that you're charging anybody. That's really okay, that's important, I understand that totally. But what I'm trying to understand here is, when the idea of perceived value, right? Like somebody, whenever they're learning guitar or saxophone or a bass, um, there are multiple avenues in which that particular thing can be. And I'm just being extremely blunt about this whole thing.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
being stupid about it, because I think that this stupidity is right now important, because we need to address this particular question a little bit more, put it into light. Like, okay, I know how to play the guitar, then there are multiple avenues in which we can explore that. We can do gigs, we can teach, there is R&D, right? um, and of course,
Like in, at least in the field of music, there are a lot more things also. There's also music direction, there's music production, there's mixing, mastering, which falls under music production, but they can also be separate services that you take from like people who are not producing your music. Because in fact, a lot of times an artist prefers to have a separate mixing engineer and a separate mastering engineer also, just because of ear fatigue. That's all. Just a different
okay,
perspective.
okay.
And that makes a difference, right? And AI can do both for you.
Mixing and mastering,
Yeah.
right?
AI mastering is a thing. AI mastering is much cheaper. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, but a few distribution services, I believe AWOL or these guys, maybe they have AI mastering services available on their website.
Which is cheap.
Yeah, I have not looked into it
Okay.
much. I just remember that when I used to use DistroKid or Amuse, and I was looking into a bunch of distribution services, some of those services actually had a mastering service on their website, which was probably AI only.
Right,
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they had already started using it back then. Right now, I know for a fact that AI mastering is a thing.
right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, in all kind for forms of technological revolutions, I think this kind of existential questions have arisen. Like, I mean, you take the electric guitar, like it's a 100-year-old instrument,
Yeah.
right? Like not more than that, for sure. Previously, imagine you have a stadium and you have to entertain a stadium. I mean, without the right amount of amps,
Amplification. It just won't work. That's why
or a
you had a
drama.
bunch
I
of
mean,
stacks of
you
100
have to
watt tube
shout
heads.
so much loudly that the last person in the last seat can hear you, basically,
Correct.
right? And that's definitely going to spoil some of your dynamics, maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
But now you have PA systems. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you have in-ear monitors. Like, I think
yeah.
like these are the kind of technological advancements which I feel are helpful. Like, for instance, in-ear monitors, when you're on a big stage and you're playing with a band that needs to be tight on time and you need to hear each other clearly, in-ear monitors, as distracting as they may be at the very beginning when you start using them, they are still a godsend rather than using just a wedge in front of you. You can just hear the whole band crystal clear in your head, and you can literally set your own mixes. There's a separate mixing engineer for you on stage just for the in-ear monitors, and then there's another mixing engineer outside who's doing the main PAs.
Sure.
That is insane, right?
I
That
mean, I'm very embarrassed, but there was a gig once, and I just couldn't hear anything what I was playing, and my sound was just so high, and this was long back, of course, but I mean, I just could manage it somehow, but it was not fun.
no, those gigs like keep coming and going. Like, just the thing is,
Yeah.
here now with every band I play, we usually know the sound guy. Like, usually what happens is, like, especially if it's a private gig, and the client is asking us for the sound as well, What we do is we don't charge them for the sound. We just suggest them good sound engineers who we have worked with in the past, who also know our sound well, right? And we just have them talk to them. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to deal with my payment. That's all, right? So in that case, if the client and that particular engineer, like their terms are agreed upon, we get good sound. Right. In some cases, like let's say, I understand that in a lot of private gigs, budget could be a constant. Like
Sure.
I have played for like a couple of my friends' weddings as well in the past, like where they were trying to keep it a little down. So what we did was that we had a guy come in for sound check, like for just to keep the mixer in check, but I could clearly tell that this guy is not really that well versed with it, but I have a decent amount of knowledge to get the sound right and the balance right, and all the band members, we've been playing together for a while now, so we know each other's sound to some degree, and we just do a basic balance, and we just tell them, "Achha, listen, when guitar solo is gonna come, bring it up a little bit. When guitar solo is done, bring it down again." these kind of things, and then we just manage, But in most cases, at least now, we don't get bad sound all the time. Only in very rare cases have we got,
Right.
And I think that also partly has to do with some artists may not know what they actually want in their sound to begin with, right? Like I'm a little particular about what I would like in my sound. What I like the most is a guitar straight into an amp in a clean setting with some reverb and EQ at 12 o'clock. In my opinion, if the amp sounds fine in that, you're playing a good amp, right? That's like the most basic setup that you can have. So similarly, when I'm going through a PA system, I often just go direct, like electric guitar direct into a PA system. So at that point, there's no amplification also. All I have them do is I have them add a little bit of gain from the mixer, a little bit of compression from there, and a little bit of reverb. And I ask them to keep the EQ at 12 o'clock first. Then I go outside and I tell them to remove what they have to. Right? So if the artist themselves is also aware of what they want, I think the communication between the artist and the sound engineer becomes a little clearer. And then you end up getting a better result from it. Yeah.
Because the rest of it is in your pedal board and your hands.
I don't even carry a pedal board in most cases.
Okay.
I hate carrying. I'm a lazy guy, man. I absolutely hate carrying things.
Right. Now these in-ear monitors that you're talking about, right? Like they bridge a certain kind of gap in the market, which is of course that there is a lack of spatial distribution of sound, which is why if it is in ear, it's firstly makes it synchronous, so everybody's listening to the same thing, right? And the second thing is it brings you a lot of
same thing and more clearly, I would say.
Okay, can you explain clearly what you mean by?
I'm saying clearly.
Can you explain this thing called clearly? Like what is your sound like? I mean, in this case, which makes it clean, neat. I mean, if you could get into a little bit of
just more isolation of each track. That's it. Like when I have my in-ears, I can tell the engineer that I want less of the vocals and more of me, and the vocalist can tell the engineer I want less of the guitar and more of me.
Sure.
We can't particularly do that with the wedge. Like if the two of us are sharing the same wedge, we can't really do that, can we?
That's no.
Right. And you're bound to have some kind of overlap in that wedge unless the panning is really done right and everything is center panned. The tracks are probably just gonna get lost. And then if you have delays and reverb in your tone, then it's gonna get lost further. Right. So in those cases, just having in-ears where you have your own personal mix and you can hear the whole band clearly. Because like the thing is, sometimes I may need to hear the other guitarist in a band more, or I may need to hear the bass player more, just to know whether I'm on the right spot or not. Sometimes I may need to hear the drummer more. So you can literally customize your mixes to that extent over there.
Right.
But it's all about communication. Good engineers will themselves come and ask you, like, what are the patches you're using? And are you going to be changing the patches for every song? If so, what patch are you going to use in the solo section of this song, what patch are you going to use here, do you need the drummer more in this song, do you need the bass player more in this song. That communication needs to be there, which is why the sound check is usually long as well.
Right. And I think that the spectrum bands also has a huge amount of contribution, because as far as I remember from the school days, like, I mean, you have those bark frequencies, and the ear basically has a characteristic bark equipotential curves, basically, right? Like in lower frequencies, like for instance, like I mean, older men or women, they generally miss the beep on the microwave oven when it's done, because it's too
This
high.
I had no idea about.
Yeah. They
Really?
don't hear. They're just sitting. They think that it's not over.
Really?
Yeah. Because in the high up you go in the frequency,
They start losing that frequency from the ears.
the amount of loudness to hear something that is low in the frequency has to be much more higher in terms of loudness.
That's
Right.
interesting. I had no idea about that.
They also oftentimes don't listen to birds chirping. Right, as you get older, of course, but like really old, I mean.
Thankfully, my parents still can hear the birds, so.
And they're not that old. Come on, okay.
No, they're both 60 plus, but
Okay.
but I'm glad. They can hear the birds.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, because otherwise, what would happen is masking.
Right.
I mean, what? Because I know that, like, I mean.
By masking, do you mean the sound that we are perceiving becomes a little muddier?
Yes. And it will happen the more, like, if there are two frequencies which are absolutely adjacent to each other, it would obviously become masked, because you won't be able to distinguish one from the other. The more spacious they are in the frequency domain, right? Like, and that's why triads sound much more better than a flat 2. Because they're closer.
Yeah, that's a good way of actually putting it, because every time a student asks me, like, why is it that minor second intervals are like considered to be too dissonant, but major second intervals
it's
are consonant?
great. I love it.
The way I see it, like the way I explain it, is just to simplify it, because I didn't have that kind of vocabulary to explain it. But what I usually say is, I feel the vibration of that particular sound more, right? So a minor second interval sounds like a very jarring vibration to my ears, right? Having said that,
go ahead.
Philosophically speaking, I also believe that every good or bad thing, if put in the right place, can be used for good.
That was what I was going to ask you, because I love it.
Exactly.
Right?
Like if you literally just play a minor second interval by itself, it may not sound as good. But played with more intention and with more attitude again, it might just turn into a musical idea. Like for example, everybody has heard Always With Me, Always With You by Joe Satriani, right? Yeah. That intro chord, there is a minor second interval within that chord. But it's working there because that particular interval has been put in a context where it sounds good, where it plays a part, right? I don't think, like, usually good things are a combination of good and bad things. If everything is 100% good, usually it doesn't end up well, and neither is everything 100% bad going to end up well. So we often, philosophically, I feel a balance of both is sort of required. Think about a relationship. Like, let's say we all have fights with our parents, right? But do we all leave our parents?
Of course not.
In fact, like when I was living away from my family for 5 years of my life, right? A lot of the things I missed was actually those fights. Because I think just those little dissonances in life, they create a certain kind of memory, a certain kind of impact on you, which once gone, you start missing them, if that makes sense. So that's just how I see.
And how do you basically, on this context, I'm going a little wild with this, but let me just articulate.
This is an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I can justify a major seventh with a minor second kind of an interval, because they're the same thing, right? In reverse, like B and C.
There is like a major seventh and a root are a minor second apart. Yes.
Still, like, right. But what about the tritone? I mean, that's an interesting one. I mean, it's there in the Lydian. Sounds great to me.
The tritone, the way
it's there in the blues. I love it.
Yeah.
I sometimes just loves when somebody is like, if you could just help me out a little bit, understand like the tritone and if at all we can bring in order into it.
The way I see it, like I was saying, that there is dissonant frequencies, and then there is like dissonant intervals, and then there's consonant intervals.
Correct.
Let's say I take a D major 7.
There is
Maybe
this.
I'll just clean it up a bit.
Sure.
Now you said flat 2, right? So I can add a flat 2 right here.
This is dissonant.
With this whammy and with the dynamics, it didn't sound bad, did it?
Yeah. I mean, it is still dissonant, but it's fun.
It has some character to it, right?
Exactly.
If I just play, maybe not as well. But if I do, you can sort of create some kind of a
But it's not sweet,
spoken
of course.
sentence. Yeah, it may not be sweet. It doesn't have to be sweet. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it still has musical value to it.
100%.
Right. Similarly, even like, let's say a major 7 with an added 4 to it. By itself, it's like it wants to resolve somewhere. It wants to do... Or maybe...
Yeah.
It wants to do something along those lines, right? But let's say if I deliberately, follow Miles Davis's philosophy and say that it's 20% talent and 80% attitude of the motherfucker.
Okay. Show me a little bit of that. Show me the 80%.
I just want to keep it suspended like that. And then come back to that particular sound again. There's your flat 5. It's all about context, right? Well, in terms of speaking, I can pretty much say whatever the hell I want to, at least in the context of art.
Sure.
And maybe not in the context of politics or
the
context of anything else. But then here, I can say whatever the hell I want to without any kind of bad physical consequences. So I'm saying that. Right. Now, obviously, I could always make it sound sweet.
I think
as
it's much more interesting when you do it with the flat 2 and they're very much, adjacent to each other. The flat 5 isn't adjacent to each other. It's
it's got a completely different character to it. Right. But if I play the 2 one after the other, it does sort of play together nice.
I dig it, right?
But all of them might not.
which is why I want to ask you, imagine Bach in the 17th century listening to Scott Henderson,
right,
and Alan Holdsworth. What do you think he would say, if he sees that? Would he think of it as bullshit?
He would probably. You never know. You never know.
Saying out loud.
You never know, I guess. Unless you know how that person is as a person, you will probably not be able to tell.
But taste has evolved. That's what we talk about, the evolution of
I'm not sure if taste has evolved or
none of Alan Holdsworth's stuff was there back in the 17th century, was it?
Well, you had certain of the expressionist era composers also who did...
The minorities.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still the minorities.
I believe Debussy has a few pieces which are well out there as well. You had John Cage, man. What was that famous song which basically is like silence for 333? 333 or 334? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's full silence, right?
Yeah, full silence, but there is just one note in there actually.
Bang!
Yeah. There's just a ting. Right, so that's basically an expressionist era. And if any of them want to look up John Cage, there are actually other pieces where he's also
fairly
using...
recent.
Sorry?
Fairly recent.
It's expressionist era. It's basically what would be called an expressionist.
What I'm trying to understand is basically that I mean, Bach also used the tritone, right? Like, it's not like he didn't use it.
But the tritone
I mean,
again...
it's there in the 5 chord.
That's what I was about to say. Like, the tritone is really more of like an unstable kind of thing that wants to resolve that. Maybe let me play it on a higher.
We have heard this many times.
Exactly. Sorry. That's basically the sound. And if you keep going back in whole steps with that, that's a pretty common sort of melodic idea that you often hear in jazz, like especially fusion or even actually any kind of jazz. Anybody who wants to explore usually comes across these kind of patterns in harmony, right? So I don't think that, I guess, like, just philosophically speaking, I don't see any note or any music as bad music. Like, I just don't have that idea.
Did it not, like, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, did it not transition during the jazz era when, like, the idea of secondary dominance came into the picture? Like, I mean,
secondary dominance,
like, you make it, don't play a D minor as a 2 in C, but a D dominant 7 chord.
So, like, that's more of modal interchange. So, like, instead of that, we're doing more of like... That's basically the sound that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Now, there we're essentially talking about borrowing that from the parallel C Lydian scale, right? So, just from that C major, we're going to... and then we're coming back to C. That's essentially the movement we're talking about. But secondary dominant, I feel the use of it has probably been there since the 18th century. You know, the secondary dominant is just a non-diatonic dominant chord that is being used to resolve.
I mean, the moment you go into D dominant 7, my mind is now like I'm in G major.
I can give a better example of it. Like, let's say instead of doing that, what if we want to go from C to D minor? But to go to D minor, I'm using a secondary dominant of A, right? Then that's the movement. Then back to G, resolving back to C. Now let's say I want to go to B dominant, which resolves to E minor, A dominant to D minor, G dominant back to C. Right. Then that is like what you're still creating, that dissonance consonance, right? I think dissonance is probably only perceived as a bad sound, and consonance is only perceived as a good sound in most people's ears. But that's not actually the case. Dissonance is when you're stepping out of your home base, essentially, in functional harmony. If I have to completely dumb it down. For me,
that's French cheese. I mean, it smells a lot,
but
man.
If we have to completely dumb it down, we're basically talking about a tonic, which is our home base, in functional harmony. I'm not talking about atonal music, but in functional harmony, it's a tonic, and then we're stepping out of the tonic and coming back to that tonic in some way, right? So everything that I used apart from that C, the D minor, E minor, B7, A7, G7, all of that was technically dissonance. Right. So dissonance is really just being used to create a little bit of tension, so that from a listening perspective, we are like, so just that little bit of dissonance creates like an interesting movement in there.
Correct.
It's like, you know, like, let's say you're dating somebody, right? And you guys are just being lovey-dovey all day. Sometimes a little fight also helps keep things more interesting. That's just how I see it. I see it as like dating somebody, you know, like dating my wife when we were dating.
Correct. Then how would you say that, like, I mean, things changed from the 60s, like when modal music came into existence? There's no more 5/1 cadences, kind of the straightforward kind of thing which was there previous to that.
Well, I'm not much of a history person, but like what I would assume. What I would assume is probably that even though the 5/1 cadence was a pretty common thing, just sticking to the one was also fairly a what's the word for it? Elementary thing to know anyway, right? As in, before somebody works on going to a dominant and then coming back to the tonic, they're probably trying to figure out the tonic to begin with, right?
Right. Like for instance, like if I talk about this in natural language, like there's a word called vibe. It was never there in the 18th century, I think.
Yeah, that's like, words like drip and all, which comes.
Yeah, and the Gen Z stuff, I have no clue. don't have any idea what they.
I have very little clue about Gen Z stuff as well, but they have some interesting philosophies too, I must say.
Definitely, I'm sure, and
I
probably
think the generational fight will always be there, but
I'm sure
that's part of the dissonance.
It is, but it's also an emergent phenomenon, because the reason why vibe became so much important is because we as humans have been connecting with people like in a widespread manner, especially after the internet came in. Right. So now the very fact that previously I was strictly restricted within a certain geographical location means that, like, even if I don't have a word like vibe in my vocabulary, I can still understand some of the presuppositions of the person that I'm going to work with. And that's because we grew up in the same culture, maybe the same language, right? The same kind of food. And
you just feel more comfortable around them.
But it doesn't happen the same when you're working with somebody who sees the sun 6 months in a year and with no darkness, and the next 6 months are just death. Right. Like, you move to Sweden, you're gonna have that, and
I felt that in Boston.
Oh, you felt that.
I've lived in Boston for 5 years of my life. Freaking hated every winter of my life.
Yeah.
For somebody who's who's born and brought up in Kolkata, that sudden change of climate is insane.
Yes.
Absolutely insane.
I believe you, man. I mean, the place where I basically lived in Ilmenau. I mean, that's oftentimes compared with Russia, because it's so cold and it has its own micro climate. And you can finish it up.
No.
All good?
Yeah.
So if I have to work with a Swedish guy or a guy from Boston, I have to understand vibes, because that's what brings us together, makes us common, right? Like, maybe the language is definitely something important. And like Germans have a lot of reservation for language, right? And all the other European countries also have their own set of reservations. We unfortunately don't have that in India, unless you go to the southern part of India, of course.
Is there a reservation in the sense?
Reservation, like, I don't want to speak in your language, basically, even if I can. Simple. That's my reservation. You adapt. I don't. I live here, right? So, I mean, I'll speak in Hindi, and even if you don't speak Hindi, then there might be, it might be the other way around with respect to languages, and I'm not saying anything that is controversial. It's just simple human culture. Basically.
No, of course, like, whatever, you can't change history.
You can't change reality, right? Like,
you can't, like, English, we are speaking in English right now.
Yeah.
That's not our language. Both our language is Bangla.
Correct.
Exactly.
But there is also idea of distribution that we have a common vision here, right? Like, I mean, we want to
distribution. I think for me at least, oftentimes I've been asked why I don't make content in Hindi or Bengali. My point is simple. I'm just most comfortable making content in English. It's as simple as that. I don't think I need any better answer than that.
Yeah.
I'm literally most comfortable making content in English, and to be honest, it works out well.
For sure.
I don't think I can express the concepts I'm talking about on my thing as well as
because you don't have the vocabulary. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't be able to tell me what exactly is the translation of an amplifier in Bengali.
No way, man. But at the same time, when I'm chilling with my friends, I'm either speaking in Hindi or English. We're not talking in English all the time. So either Hindi or Bengali. We're not talking in English all the time. Whether it's musicians in Bombay or musicians here, or like friends in Bombay or friends in Kolkata, anywhere. It's either Hindi or Bangla.
Right.
But I don't have to translate that to my work, man.
Oh, definitely.
I reserve the right to do that.
You 100% do.
Yeah.
And which is why there was this emergent phenomenon of these new sets of vocabularies, because the world has been changing a lot. You have been to a different part of the world, lived there for 6 years. I've been in a different part of the world, lived there for 8 years, right? So I had to speak German when I'm in a cafe, right? Like I can't speak English.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work there, simply. And the fact is basically that then we come up with these set of words called vibes, and also we have a lot of these local Bangla keywords which we use, which you wouldn't find in a traditional dictionary.
Absolutely.
Right. So what happened was that taste grew, and because a lot of things just didn't fall into the old model, right? And
was it taste, or like I'm not sure if I would use the word taste more than I would use the word evolution.
I mean, if I give you beans every day and you don't have anything else, you cannot eat chicken for the rest of your life. Like, you will put in some kind of spice into the beans and make it something that fits you. I think, right?
It's like what I do with my guitar.
Well,
like this particular guitar was absolutely fine by itself.
Sure.
But I just put a new switch, a new input jack, and new pots into it. I didn't change the pickups. I put the locking tuners also into it. But the original parts were fine. I just put them in there because they just feel a little higher quality.
Right.
They're not changing the tone in any way.
Right.
If you feel your switches change the tone, it doesn't. Just like, the pickups can change the tone, the value of your pots can change the tone, the capacitor can change the tone. But if you're sticking to the same value of pot, same like switch, changing the switch doesn't change the tone. So don't let anybody else fool you with that.
Yeah. There are jokes about it. I think like somebody just changed something and just said.
And if you feel I'm lying, there is actually a video on my channel with this exact guitar where I am playing it with the original electronics, and there's also a video of me actually changing the electronics on this guitar that I recently uploaded, and I played after changing. Tell me if you hear a difference in tone, because I didn't. But I felt a difference in the hardware.
Right.
Just like this switch is so much more clicky, it feels more solid. The pots, the tapering of the pots are nicer. The input jack sounds a little less noisy comparatively compared to the old one. The tuners feel a little bit more precise than the original tuner.
Right.
Doesn't change tone, does it?
Right. I think that's very interesting, because I mean, like, what I want to understand is what kind of shift.
My analogy is, since you are talking about food, it's still food. It's just that it's my version of that food. That's basically what I meant.
That's great. That's fantastic. I mean, what I want to really probe into is that what was Miles Davis thinking in 1959, like when he was playing Kind of Blue, like and what was?
I have no idea, man. But
okay,
the only thing I would again assume, because when I try to listen to somebody play, I just try to think of what kind of philosophy they live with, or like maybe
I would like to rephrase the very question that I just asked you last time, and just to bring in a little bit of understanding of what lies ahead of us. Like every artist sees gaps, of course, in because at the end of the day, it
gaps
starts,
in the sense.
I'm trying to articulate it. It's not easy for me either, but I mean, you start with empty space, a blank sheet, right? So that's what is your initial condition.
In terms of creation, you mean?
Creation,
like in terms of
I'm talking about in terms
creation
of creation
and the overall journey of
making. That is what my alignment is, roughly speaking.
Like a blank canvas and seeing what comes out.
Right? Precisely, just like painting. I mean, it all starts with like all white or whatever. It is just blank. There is no information.
Yeah.
It's pure order, right? Silence. And now you start to basically tell your story, of course. We never ran out of stories as human beings, which is something that is exceptional about us, right? Like, you go to the 17th century, you get excellent stories, not just of musical stories, like regular folk tales I'm talking about, right? Somebody went into the oceans, and I mean, when I see the ocean, it's like, it's so scary. Somebody going on a wooden stalk, that was what a ship was 300 years back, and going for almost months, like, into that unknown. and finally putting the flag and just saying this is my piece of land, you know, that was adventure back in the 17th century, of course.
So like discovering something.
You clearly are. And in between, anything can go wrong. A whale can just come and hit you, and you can just
Or a
game over.
thunderstorm.
Or a
Get
thunderstorm.
electrocuted or something like that. A lot of things can happen.
Yeah. Just a little off topic. I mean, recently I also watched a few podcasts of these marine guys.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a very weird history that is there, that they all some see ghosts in the ship. Yeah, because a lot of people apparently die, and whenever there is like, I mean, the transportation of goods, these huge oil barrels specifically, of if there is a slight bit of accident, like it falls on a human being and the human being is spot dead. Right, and they are just used to these things, this kind of a life. They just see that every single day, which is very odd for me. I would panic if I see that, clearly.
And that also I feel has a lot to do with conditioning. It's like,
Yes.
coming back to that first question you had asked about entrepreneurship. I think that certain sense of being unbothered by a lot of things is also an important characteristic of a good entrepreneur. Like in fact, just yesterday I had a student who was talking about, how he keeps getting bothered by things, and he was asking me how I stay unbothered. I'm like, really? I just don't give a fuck, man.
But is it true? You do give a fuck about things?
Just not enough fucks. Not enough fucks for my mind to keep thinking about it. In some cases, I guess I do. But then again, it doesn't take me too long to get out of that zone.
Interesting.
Maybe max to max 2 hours, 3 hours. After that, I'll just move past it. Because at the end of the day, what happens is, usually that happens to me if somebody is, let's say, saying something about me which is not true. But then I tell myself, like, no, if this is not true, why the fuck am I getting affected by it? And then I come out of that zone. But I can understand how it is not that simple for a lot of people.
Maybe age has something to do with this as well. Like experience brings you into a place where you stop giving fucks.
I think it could be a lot of things. For me, I have given very little fucks since I was a kid, man.
Sure.
Very little fucks, bro. Like, we have a couple of mutual friends who've known me since I was in school. Even if you ask them, they're like, this guy has hardly given any fucks when he was a kid also, in school also. But obviously the level of not giving a fuck at this point in my life versus the level of not giving a fuck was not the same. I used to give more fucks when I was younger.
Yes.
So age does and did play a role in me giving even lesser fucks. But again, like that, I think the level changed with a certain sense of understanding what the consequences are.
Which is what I want to like probe into a little bit. Like, I mean, were you ever intimidated by some form of music? Very intimidated?
I still am, man. Like, you see on my desk, there are those 3 sticky notes. They're basically a bunch of jazz standards that I'm not happy with. I don't feel I've internalized it. Some of it I haven't even worked on yet. For example, on the right hand side, there are a couple of post-bop tunes written over there. One is Dolphin Dance, and the other one is Inner Urge and Very Early. I have only been working on Very Early, right? Because these are not very traditional jazz changes that you would hear in tunes like All the Things You Are, or Autumn Leaves, or Solar. There's it's just slightly different, And then Coltrane changes, under Coltrane changes are 4 tunes. Giant Steps I have worked on a fair bit, but Countdown, 26-2 and Moment's Notice not as much. But these are all similar changes, but arranged slightly differently, which makes it fairly hard to work on at a higher tempo. Like, I feel one of my biggest fears and one of my biggest disadvantages is that I am horrible at playing up tempo. Somehow in some situations I've noticed if the band I am playing with is really creating a good vibe for me, I end up hitting those changes on time. But if I'm not gelling with the band, it doesn't work out well. And sometimes it's also like just a certain day. On certain days, I just don't feel creative. On certain other days, I feel insanely creative. Usually on those days, I end up recording like all the stuff I have on Bandcamp or on Spotify or on Apple Music are all basically recorded on such days when I just felt very creative. Just hit record
Is it
and
after
saw
you
it.
wake up, or is there any specific?
No, it depends. Sometimes it's been at the end of a really long day.
Right.
It just depends.
Any pattern to it?
No pattern. Not for me. The only pattern is mindset.
Tell me about it.
Like for me, I've realized that if I have too many things on my mind, like maybe too many bills coming up, and maybe I'm running a little short on money, or maybe I've had a bit of a disagreement with somebody in the family, or maybe like let's say somebody came and scratched my car, that fucking pisses you off, that. These kind of things, if these little things happen, I'm not really in the best mood. Sometimes maybe a student has not done the homework and that pisses me off a little bit, or like let's say sometimes there have been some rare moments when a student has tried to be a little over smart and I've had to just give it back to them a little bit. Later on, I feel bad, maybe I shouldn't have been that harsh, but then I remember my childhood that, if whenever I have been over smart, if I was not told by the teacher, if I was not shouted at, or in some cases, if I was not slapped, I probably wouldn't have really grown up properly. I think sometimes you have to, like, it shouldn't become a very negative, it shouldn't have a negative impact on you. I think you partly, as a human being, you also need to learn to see the positives in things as well. Certain things can be objectively negative and objectively bad, obviously, but at the same time, I think in this case where I'm just telling the student that, hey man, you just did not sound right. You have to go back to square one, do what I asked you to do, and then get back to me. I don't think that is that harsh also. I think it's what I'm being paid to do.
Yeah.
So like that realization comes a little later and then I'm in a better state of mind. But when I say that and I just send that message, and instantly I'm like, oh, what if this guy starts crying now? But thankfully that has not happened. I have not really been that rude to anybody. At least I can't remember being.
But because at the end of the day, like the underlying information or message has been compassionate, maybe, and that's what you also type it out.
I am
when you type
passionate
it out.
about teaching, man. Like I love teaching. I teach because it's the
I mean,
only way I can keep
you
learning.
definitely do understand the student's shoes. I mean, it's not easy to master this instrument. I mean, it can take you lifetimes. Maybe one lifetime is not enough, probably, right? And I mean,
see, I've been oversmart myself with teachers.
right.
So I know.
Right.
I know when if a student is being oversmart about something, I can sort of predict what could be the bad outcome of it in future. Because I think a part of a teacher's job is also to predict whether something that a student is doing today out of innocence can become a bad or like a not so desirable outcome in future also.
Can you give one example?
I'll give you a great example. A lot of people have issues with their thumb placement.
Achha?
Okay, in the sense, we often, a lot of times when I'm doing legato, I usually keep my thumb like that. Okay, the way I visualize it is like if I hold a plate that way.
I think classical players always do that.
The middle finger is in between the four fingers over here. That's how I visualize it. But a lot of people are used to holding it this way. Now, the thing is, in that moment, they might feel like it's easier for them. But as they progress in their journey and they try to hold more complex chords or more, let's say, wider intervals, or even just hold a freaking bar chord, they realize that this thumb placement is stopping them from holding it. Because if your thumb is placed that way, you can't fucking bar.
Right? And what about the John Mayer thing? Like if you play the...
Everything has a context. Right?
That he plays neon with the thumb on
but
the
he
bass.
Also plays like this in a lot of instances. Your thumb is not going to be the same all the time. Right? Just like everything else in life, your technique is also going to have to be dynamic. Right? Your placements will keep changing. If your technique is literally, if you're holding the pick like this 24/7, bro, you're not gonna improve whatsoever. And I think that's like too much of a rigid thing to follow. Right. You see any great player, nobody's technique is the same 24/7. They keep changing their hand because they have to. It's
Yeah.
an expressive instrument. A good piano player's technique will also keep changing because it's an expressive instrument. Any instrument, like instrument can have expression, right? Maybe apart from Ableton Live. That was a joke. I'll probably piss off a few people out there who produce it. But that's fine, I still love you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get the point, right? So that's a good example of like why that simple thing needs to be fixed at a very early stage in your journey so that later on it doesn't create an issue for you.
Correct. Correct.
Then intervals can be another such issue. Like I know a lot of people talk about the caged system. I think if you really just learn your intervals and understand that properly, you don't even need to bother looking into the cage system.
Sure.
Because just knowing your intervals well enough and knowing how to find them on your instrument, be it the guitar, piano is the easiest one to find intervals on, but on the guitar it's not as easy. But then just use your mind a little bit more, use your eyes a little bit more, make some mental notes, and it starts to make sense. So you start to see the intervals on the guitar, right? Then that just opens up more avenues for you. Cage system doesn't necessarily open up more avenue for you unless you actually start seeing the intervals within the cage system, which it's essentially trying to show you. But what are most students really seeing within the cage system? They're seeing C, A, G, E, D in there. They're only seeing shapes of these particular triads in there. They're not seeing the intervals. Right. If you ask them where the 5 is in that E chord, they will, I'm telling you, at least half of them will not be able to tell. Then what was the point of you learning that?
Right. I think one of the major impediments that happens for any intermediate, I would say, to advanced players also is overusing of a few things that they learned in the recency. Like I remember myself, of course, like when I first learned the flat 13 sharp 9 chord, I always, the all 5 chord was always that.
I still use it, especially because you get to bar your pinky like that, and it's a nice feeling to really do that.
Yeah.
It's a very easy chord to hold as well. I feel like people who are not very good at holding the sharp 9 chord well end up playing that by mistake anyway. But then later on they also, I think, realized that in some cases a sharp 9 and a natural 13 actually works better than a flat 13. Especially if you want to outline a diminished sound, or like sometimes if you want the 5 on top, then it becomes a little hard for you to hold that because that becomes an odd shape, right?
But also 13 flat 9 is also very
13 flat 9 is a very nice sound.
Very interesting sound. Right. I remember just out of my head, like it just popped up, like one of the Essence of Jazz or something like that by Joe Pass. And he was saying like, hey, you don't need to stretch your hands out too much, right? Like, I mean, if it has to work, it will work with something much more minimal. And what's your take on that? Like, I mean,
I agree with him. Okay. Everybody's hands are different. Like, I can't stretch my pinky. Like, look, that's the max I can do. But I have students who can literally stretch their pinky like this much. And I'm jealous of them, man. I'm really jealous of them because there are certain Ted Green voicings which really require you to stretch that much. I just can't reach that, man. Just can't. In fact, there's this one voicing. You know the second inversion major 7 shape, right? Which you pretty much hold this way.
Right.
So Ted Green, what he does is, he has this one diagram in his chord chemistry, I think the chord chemistry book, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Where he holds the 5th and the root with the tip of his middle finger. Okay. Then the third, then the third with the index and the major 7 with the pinky. So basically like that, right? My finger is not, I can, but it's not as thick as his. He could just easily hold it that way. But for me, I really have to place it. In some cases, in the moment, I manage to do it. But in some other cases, it just slips out. So everybody's hands are different. And I think accordingly, you will have to sort of make certain changes. And I say that to my own students also, that See, if I am holding a chord a certain way and your hands are not being able to hold it exactly the same way, you will have to make certain compromises.
Adjustments.
Yes. I would say compromise. The only reason I would use the word compromise is because sometimes a voicing sounds exactly the way it does because of the way you're holding it. Now, if your hands don't allow that, what can you do? My hands also don't allow certain other voicings. Like, I would love to hold a diminished seventh voicing in close position. My hands don't really allow that. It's not a practical voicing to hold.
Yeah, I have seen you, man. Like, I mean, playing some stuff, and then like your
I
thumb
use the
is
thumb
coming on the other side of the. What was that, man? Like,
Sometimes I use the thumb to hold certain notes.
it's not coming on the bass; it's coming on the.
But
treble.
that's also not a new technique, because a lot of classical players actually use that. And if you have heard of this guy Andre Nieri, he's a damn good guitarist. I think he teaches at Musicians Institute also now.
I see.
So he has a bunch of videos of his where he's playing solo guitar arrangements of certain tunes. He's literally holding a chord like that, like a major 7 sharp 11 like that. Or maybe he's playing a minor 7
this
flat
guy.
5. Yeah, that's him.
Right.
Or maybe like a minor 7 flat 5 and he's adding the 4, like the 11 on top with the thumb. It's a nice voicing. And like, in fact, let me just show you a few.
Okay, sure.
It's pretty cool to hold them like that. Like, let's say this particular...
Also, give some context of the chord, maybe a little bit.
Let's say F major 7. Now, when I'm seeing this voicing, I have the root, 5th, major 7, and 3rd. I have a sharp 11 right there.
Right.
I can reach that with my... Okay. Sometimes you can use this as a melodic thing also. Like, let's say you want to do... What if I do?
Oh, that's so nice.
So that creates that ringing effect, which you can't get if you try to do that. The only other sort of way to maybe do that is... Right, and then you have to let go of that. But it's still not ringing out completely. So if I hold it like this... Sorry. Or let's say I hold it this way. Or I hold it 6. You get good ideas there, right?
Yes.
Now, same thing for minor 7 flat 5. The 11 stays right here. I could hold it this way also. But if I hold it this way, I won't get the flat 3.
Message to all musicians: get a better insurance.
Then there are voicings like these that I would love to hold. Okay.
And this is what
This, if I see it from
Sharp
this
5?
perspective, then it's basically a G major triad first, and then I have the 6 and the 9 on top. Now my hands are allowing me to play this. Your hands may not. So depending on your hand, you're gonna have to make certain changes to your technique.
Maybe stay with the guitar
Sure.
for a second, maybe, because I just want to get back into that question of the blank canvas.
Okay.
And I mean, the points that I want to join is, I mean, firstly I need to define that, because I mean, when you speak about people like Miles Davis or Alan Holdsworth, like they all had a blank piece of paper or silence, of course. Now, we were also talking offline, like, I mean, a little bit about influence. I'm sure they all have had their own set of influences, for sure. Like, they have enjoyed music played by others. But when they play it, it's very different. Like, Larry Carlton clearly, I mean, sounds completely different from Michael Landau. They have similarities sometimes, maybe.
Or Scott Henderson from Michael Landau. Because they have certain techniques which are similar to each other.
Yes.
But at the same time, the end product is very different from each other.
Right. So the thing is, essentially, it's a very simple thing. I mean, it's like there are 12 notes. There are octaves, of course. You have some set of effects which are all constrained by the laws of physics. Like you cannot suddenly have an effect where you just play and light pops into your head, of course, right?
No, in fact, rather the way I see these effects, well, primarily, if anybody has seen my videos, I primarily just go straight into an amp and just play solo.
Yeah, yeah.
But this pedal board is sort of like I think as an improviser, I'm just more towards that ambient solo guitar kind of sound.
Yes.
You know, whether I use this pedal board or not. Like this pedal board is set up as like a fairly, like there's a sustainer in there, there's a looper in there, and there are two kinds of reverb/delay combination pedals in there.
Right.
And then there's an amp and there's an overdrive pedal which I literally never use. Rather, I was even thinking of changing that overdrive pedal to a noise gate pedal instead.
Okay.
Just to make my signal chain a little cleaner. But that amp pedal, like right now, this particular guitar, because I know that the pickups are sort of very low output, what I do is, you will notice there's no compression here. I do not use a compressor.
You don't have a compressor?
There's no compressor here. I have a compressor pedal, I just don't hook it up over here. The main reason for that is I've realized that compressors are important for electric guitars, just to balance out certain peaks. But at the same time, they also introduce a lot of noise in your signal chain. So unless you have a noise gate as well, your signal chain just becomes a little noisy. So instead, what I do is right now,
does it decrease the dynamics of the system, like a compressor?
A compressor? It basically balances out the dynamics, like depending on the amount.
And how would a noise gate help that?
A noise gate is just removing the noise.
Or just the additional noise, you mean? Okay.
So the noise is generating from the pickups. So you want to, I usually keep the noise gate at the beginning of my chain so that I can eliminate that noise from here first. Then go into the compressor and then go into this amp. So all my effects, including the looper, is in the effects loop of that amp. So that Laney Ironheart that you see down there.
Right.
That's a 60-watt amplifier. It's a 2-channel amp with a boost in it. So right now I'm actually in the overdrive section of that amp, but because these pickups are very low output, it's not sounding super overdriven unless I really bring up that volume and hit the strings hard, right? Or if I go to the bridge pickup. Now you hear the overdrive. But if I bring down the volume a bit, so this way I still have a little bit of fatness in the tone, but I also have my dynamics available to me. So I can use lesser dynamics on my hand to just bring out more expression. Maybe a bit more.
Playing a bit, a hint of Michael Landau.
Again, I have not heard much of Michael Landau.
Yeah.
I have heard a lot of Scott Henderson, but not much of Landau. In fact, I would say Scott Henderson definitely has some influence on me, especially when it comes to whammy use, like a lot of whammy and diminished lines. These kind of ideas I feel they're inspired by it. Right. But again, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is inspired and how much of it was me. But yeah,
I think it's clear when a lot of these great guitar players also say that the instrument is not the guitar, but this is the instrument, and you are the instrument.
It all comes from the hands at the end of the day. Everything else is just enhancement.
So that's exactly where my the silent canvas or the blank canvas kind of thing was coming out from. Like when Hendrix was doing something, I mean, he was doing something very interesting that even Miles got attention of his. And in Bitches Brew, a lot of the ideas were actually inspired from a Hendrix kind of a headspace. Let's just say that. right? But Bitches Brew is completely different from what Hendrix used to play, of course.
Bitches Brew I also feel is like sort of like an intro to freeform improvisation as well.
It's just chaos happening all over everybody. It's just gone crazy suddenly, I know.
Right. But I like the idea of that though, where like,
Yeah.
they're just letting it flow and seeing what comes out. There's a certain level of realism to it that can't really be replicated. Matlab, there are two main reasons why I get drawn more towards improvised music than composition. One is I do not have the attention span to compose music. That's
Okay.
really the main reason. Second reason is when I in very early on in my career, when I stumbled across Alan Holdsworth,
Yeah.
one of the first things I heard from him was, I don't like repeating myself. And I'm like, hey, even I don't want to repeat myself. But how do I get to that level where like I don't have to repeat myself? Like later on, obviously at this point, I understand that that sentence has a deeper meaning.
Sure.
Like by repeating not
he has
repeating
themes
yourself.
and variations which
Exactly.
are linked to that repetition.
Exactly.
Maybe not exactly the 100%
Correct.
copy of that thing.
It's like you're not playing yellow like yellow all the time.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you might just add like maybe look at the sun, look at the shine for, and everything.
You're making it into a Beatles song now.
But it was all yellow. That take a long. Right. So I don't necessarily.
The 4 minor was so Beatles-like, you know.
Right? Yeah, and then like this diminished going to the
That was fun. That was
also.
fun.
That just completely changes the vibe of the song, right? So that's what I understood later on in life. That what he pretty much meant was building a vocabulary and then gaining enough control over that vocabulary to speak through it. The same way we speak a language or like have a conversation in a language, right? You and I are not thinking about whether we're using verbs or adjectives while we're speaking in English, but we are still able to put across our
Thoughts and ideas.
Our thoughts, right? Clear enough that we both understand what we're talking about.
Correct.
You know.
Correct. I mean, so then, like, I mean, what would you think that in 2030s the music scene will look like? Like, is there anything left to invent? Like, I mean, I know that's a very cocky kind of a thing to say.
Not cocky. I think that's an important question to ask.
Yeah.
Because from my observation, there are two things. There is a number of people who are essentially being inspired by multiple people and sort of chasing what's popular. They might say they're experimenting, but really they aren't. They think they're experimenting. But then...
What do you mean? Like, I mean, what?
Like, let's say somebody's saying that I tried to experiment with it by adding a certain chord. But then the thing is, the chord already exists, bro.
Well, that way everything exists.
Exactly. That way everything exists. The only experimentation maybe you can think of is, let's say you're using some kind of wacky effect. Or like maybe something on the lines of prepared piano or prepared guitar, where you're actually experimenting with something. It could be also
what do you mean by prepared
piano? Prepared piano is a style of piano playing where like you're using certain objects. Like let's say maybe you put a wooden block inside one of the strings and it creates a specific sound. Right? It's almost avant-garde music. Let me see, maybe let's say I randomly take this particular phone holder and I put that here.
Okay. Oh boy.
Let's say I just put it here. Okay.
Oh boy.
Now that has created some kind of a sound. And then try to create something. I'm not very good with this stuff, but it's very avant-garde stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll see what comes out of it. I don't know. I don't think I have enough creativity.
I mean, if you put it here, all the frets are just suddenly gone. So.
But essentially, you use like objects like that. I think if people just search online about prepared piano or prepared guitar, they'll come across people who actually do it well. I'm not. I've never experimented with this stuff.
But fundamentally, in the landscape of music, like if somebody is jazzifying a Hendrix song, I mean, they know that I mean, Hendrix did not play a lot of very hard chords in that sense. But I mean, he was great at what he did. Definitely, it was fantastic. I love listening to him, of course. But I mean, I can change it with respect to studying the music once, understanding that what is the harmonic relationship between the chords and what is the storytelling that is happening. And I can add extensions, of course. I can make a complete reharmonization of the whole song.
Yeah.
From major to minor.
Yeah.
It would look completely different, or to a different kind of a chord subgroup.
Like, for example, Little Wing.
Little Wing,
That's a
right?
pretty common one to do. Like,
Sure.
well, she's walking through the cloud. It's a circus smile. I don't know the lyrics.
Right. Yeah.
No, what was it? Whatever, like doing some kind of wacky stuff to that, and that creates a different kind of vibe altogether.
Right. Like just talking about Hendrix just brings me something like, I mean, because I think that after the 2000s, like especially after 2010 onward till recently it's coming back, I'm seeing this, like the guitar as an instrument was a bit lost from the scene. Like 2010 onwards, I would say this, roughly
Lost
speaking.
from the scene in the sense?
In the sense,
like as a solo instrument?
Yes, I mean it's no longer hip to play a guitar, because I mean John Mayer said this, right? Like I mean, like playing a guitar was a similar experience of riding a car, and it there was a certain romance to it, which is what I'm trying to just address. I mean, in the past, right? And when I grew up as a kid, like I mean, when I saw a guitar, I was like, wow, this is so cool,
Yeah.
right? And that magic kind of vanished from 2010 onwards. I'm seeing that is coming back. Guitar solos are happening again.
One, guitar is not exactly an easy instrument to play, and not everybody wants to put in that effort, if I have to be completely blunt about it.
Correct.
Like, a lot of people playing guitars are also songwriters. A songwriter is usually not going to put in that much of effort behind playing the guitar as much as they would put behind fine-tuning the songwriting or the singing or their arrangements or their, like, let's say, production skills. Right, because they're seeing it from a more complete picture kind of a thing. And it also has a lot to do with people following the trends. I've not been much of a trend follower anyway. You know, I've always played the guitar because I fucking love playing the guitar. You know, that's all I think. I've never thought of becoming like a musician and like composing a piece of music using other instruments. I've been like, I want to be a guitarist making music. You know, there's a difference between the two, because like this is what I'm obsessed with. Music is what I live, and the way I see music, I see it from the perspective of this instrument. Hence, every single guitar of mine is very different. This pedal board down there gives me a lot of options. Now, do I use all of the options all the time? No, I'm not supposed to. It's more of like, right now I've taken out this guitar will sort of make me play a certain way. I might end up sounding similar in all of them, but in my mind, in terms of feeling the instrument, it's not the same to me. The listener may not be able to tell, but I'll be able to tell which guitar I'm playing. I'll be able to tell why I prefer this guitar over certain other guitars for a certain specific work. You know, right? It's like, you know how I have multiple cups. Some days I drink in this particular cup. Some days I drink in another cup that was given to me by my wife. Maybe another day I'm drinking through another cup that was given to me by somebody else. Then the next day I'm drinking from a cup that I bought for myself or my mom gave me or something like that. Right? It's not like it's still a cup. I'm
Sure.
still having coffee from it. But then I'm just choosing which one to take.
And what are the characteristics that makes something stand out? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's six strings, so six independent channels. That's the way I like to see it. Like six different singers,
Yeah.
kind of singing at the
Six
same
different
time.
voices at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of thing that happens with the sound processing aspect of it, where you can emote a certain experience, and I mean, and that's one of the primary things what we are looking for. We want to basically have an emotion, because what I personally feel is that you're never actually emotionally blunt. You are always emotional, but at times you are basically just channelizing that emotion into certain things that makes your life more interesting, and sometimes it will completely destroy you,
Absolutely. Like,
right?
for example, a few of the fuck ups I did over there. You
No,
know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I don't, again, I give very little. I've used the fuck word a lot into
that's
this
okay. That's
video.
okay.
But
That's all
anyway,
good. Yeah.
like, again, I give very little fucks about those things because I know, and anybody else who is into improv will agree with me as well, that fuck ups are a part of it. It's because you're improvising. In some rare cases, like for example, when I was learning from Tim Miller, I've
Yeah.
hardly seen him mess up, man. I don't think I've ever, even if he feels he messed up, it never sounded like he messed up. you know, like, in those cases. But I've seen other teachers of mine mess up. I'm not gonna take names, but then I've seen them mess up, but it never bothered me. You know, you know how certain people get bothered, like, hey man, this guy messed up. I think if you're used to listening to music which is so polished, you're not really listening to an improviser. Even Keith Jarrett has, that very famous recording of Keith Jarrett, the live recording,
Okay. I mean,
live at Coln,
clone,
Clone,
clone. Yeah.
Cologne, yeah,
Yeah.
that one. Man,
Correct.
if you listen carefully,
Yeah.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of mishaps in there. Especially towards the beginning, you will hear the sustain pedal actually overlapping a few notes here and there, which are very dissonant overlaps. But do you give a shit about that? Because it's Keith Jarrett, man. You don't give a shit
I mean,
because it's
he
Keith
just
freaking
talks to
Jarrett.
me directly to the experience, if I
That's
have to
what.
say that.
Because that's him. That's a whole fully improvised concert. It's natural for a human being to mess up a little bit. Doesn't matter who that is. Hendrix also has multiple
And he also
recordings where he has messed up.
emotes it out with his voice. Ah.
Yeah, that's what, and I feel that's part of the experience. That's part of the realism of being a real freaking player.
Yeah.
I want to be a
Yeah.
real player. So hence, I don't put out polished recordings. I mean, I make sure the recording is at as
Yeah. Yeah.
best quality as possible. But then, unless my mistake is drastically horrible, I let it be. Because I think that plays part in that journey. The way I see any of the music that I put out is that each and every one of them are somewhat of an artistic journey that my mind felt in that moment. You know what I mean? I can't change that. Why should I change it? Because that's literally me going through that particular moment. And that recording is my mind with my guitar reacting to what I'm thinking, maybe to the environment around me.
Right. Right.
Like, I do this one thing where you've noticed that outside noise come through into the studio quite a bit, and in a way, as much as I would like this space to be completely quiet, I think me growing up in an area which is very noisy has also often triggered different kinds of creativity from me, because I have tried creating music in a completely quiet room, and
Yeah.
it hasn't worked as well for me.
I see.
I just feel
You get jittery?
I feel a little uncomfortable, rather.
Because I have faced similar experience. I think it's probably growing up at our early stage of childhood, basically.
Yeah,
has
I guess
some-
it's like I'm being taken out of an environment that I'm used to. Maybe that's why.
Ha.
Right? Like that's also like I felt a similar thing when I first used in-ear monitors. Well, I was telling you that initially it's very distracting, but then after 3-4 gigs with it, you get used to it. Maybe it's just that I played a lot of studio sessions, and the ones that have gone well for me are studio sessions where we're having a good time, you know. But in certain cases, let's say I've just gone in to record one part for a song, right? And I'm in a very quiet room, acoustic guitar. There's a Neumann, very sensitive Neumann condenser in front of me. That shit makes me very uncomfortable, man. Because the thing is, in my headphones, I'm hearing my breath. You know what I mean? Whereas when there's so much of noise around me, I don't hear those things. All I'm hearing is basically what I'm playing along with the environment. And then later on, when I listen to the recording, which is completely isolated, the recording also sort of sounds like, okay, yeah, I did play this. You're getting, I don't know how much sense I'm making.
No, I know, because I remember, many years back, I came to your place, basically. And I had that Strat, the only Strat that I have.
The Squire.
The Squire
right?
Strat,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like that headstock on you. Right?
Yeah,
That 70s headstock.
Yeah, the Affinity series. And I think there was a problem with the action, and you took my guitar and you said that that's fine. I mean, it's just different. Then you just treat it like a different thing now. And that was a very interesting thing. And because, of course, I look up to your music. And then when you say that, hey, you shouldn't be bothered with that much. Right, it's maybe not optimal, of course. I mean, you talked about optimality, right, when I came to your place, and that you like it in a certain way, but you were not pissed off with it.
No, absolutely.
Okay,
not.
because and that's what I also saw one day with Amida, our teacher, and I mean, he just took a very shady kind of a guitar, and wow, what kind of music was he was playing out of that? It was broken, like intonation all over the place, maybe a little bit here and there, but he was playing it, and he just suddenly restructured his brain that, okay, now I'm playing a crappy guitar, then I'll just cooperate with it.
Yeah. That was in fact the idea for like last time you came out to my place, you had asked me about the music I was putting up on Spotify and Apple Music. Most of that music is basically that, where I used one of the guitars was this guitar, in fact, that classical guitar. In fact, all the guitars that I've used in those EPs, none of them work anymore. I recorded those EPs when all of those guitars were pretty much on their last leg. And I'll even tell you one by one what happened to each of them. One of them is hanging right here. This black one.
You recorded some stuff with this thing?
With this one, yeah.
Really?
On Spotify, I can't remember.
This is your first guitar, right?
It's my first acoustic, yeah.
Yeah.
Neither of them work anymore. These are both my first guitar, my first electric and acoustic.
Right.
Yeah. None of them are in working condition. I do want to resurrect them eventually.
Right.
I just don't feel I have enough luthier skills yet. Like, I want to do it with my own hands. Then I think it makes it because I take care of all my guitars myself, and I feel when you take care of your instruments yourself, there's a certain kind of connection that you build with the instrument, which nobody can take away from you. Like I said, I did not need to modify this, but then because I modified it, I feel I built more of a connection with it. To me, I have a very special relationship with each of my instruments, my amps, my pedals, my guitars, everything. And I don't know, they all just speak to me in a slightly different way. Maybe not like in a schizophrenic way, just more in a like feeling kind of.
Yes. Like I think I have a very interesting also word for that. I mean, it's called morphic resonance.
Okay.
And there's a guy, a UK guy, and I mean his name is Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Sheldrake, and he made this interesting experiment where he kind of found very interesting correlations of teaching some American rats a skill, immediately seeing that the Australian rats are getting in their next generations developing a certain skill. So we are much more stranger than we think, for sure. Like in the UK, there's a bird called blue tits, right? And in London, basically, like, I mean, the milk is delivered in glass bottles with oftentimes the top is basically just, with a paper wrapped, so a bird can sit on top, and what the bird does is just it just eats the cream on the top of the milk.
Right.
It can't actually sip the milk, right? And blue tits found in the Netherlands and in the US happen to have picked up that as a part of their diet.
Oh.
Cream, which was never ever a part of their diet earlier, right?
It's more like I'm guessing it's related to the genes as well, to some degree.
I would not say so. I would say it's much beyond the genes, because the genes are programs specifically written to interact with the environment. Where you can, like, if I just throw sulfuric acid at you, your body has to react in a certain way. That was a horrific thing, but I mean, I would never do that, but I'm just trying to just give an example, maybe a bad one. But I mean, your body is like prepared for it, basically. It knows what to do, basically, at that point of time. It will panic, though.
At that point, you'll be Iron Man, though, man. If your body is prepared to take sulfuric acid.
All right. Let's just say how I spill some warm coffee, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
more realistic.
all right. So, right, and morphic resonance is something that's extremely interesting in many other parts of the. It has echoes in psychedelics, basically, right? Like people from Chile, right? They were given DMT, and they all saw similar kinds of creatures which people in the Amazon see, which are very similar to elves.
Right.
There's a very important characterization of a particular archetype that almost everybody on DMT with long-term exposure sees, that is a jaguar. Now, in Chile, there is no jaguar, by the way, right? And this was done in a randomized control trial kind of a way, which is peer-reviewed and very high-quality research is what I'm trying to say. And somebody who has never seen a jaguar in their day-to-day lives, at least, if you don't live in the Amazon, you're never going to see one.
Of course.
Right? But once you take that psychedelic, that animal comes up. So there's something definitely in that molecule which basically kind of gets your brain, and that's the underlying theory of morphic resonance, is that we are much more beyond the genetics of the things. Basically, there is a field, the morphic field, which unites us, right? And one of the things that got recently proved, which is not at all anything pseudoscientific, there is a lot of peer-reviewed publications that have come out of it, is telepathy. There's a big like we
I know telepathy is actually real. I know about
telepathy
that.
is fucking real.
I don't know how
man.
it works, but then I know it's real. Sometimes I do watch certain documentaries related to these things.
Right.
Like usually at the end of the day, I just like to watch things that do not require me to use my brain. But then there are times when my brain is still active after a long day.
Yeah, I remember you telling me a long time.
I just like watching stupid things, man. Yeah. Like comedy shows and all that shit.
Yeah,
but then there are times when I'm like, okay, I don't want to watch anything stupid. I want to actually watch something meaningful. Then I come across these kind of videos. Like recently I saw a video. There's this guy called Hamilton.
Okay.
He goes around the world trying out different kinds of psychedelic substances and like doing research on that, and just like creates videos on YouTube about his findings. So recently I saw a video of him where he's talking about DMT and how the human brain might be able to actually create DMT as well.
It can.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was also showing that like there are actually experiments that were done on rats, right, and also pigs and all, but rats apparently managed to create a little bit of, like in one instance of that particular research, a rat actually managed to create DMT in the brain, but it apparently didn't come up in the second time. So now if a rat can create that, the human brain is very similar to a rat's brain.
Very similar.
So their hypothesis was that if the rat is able to create that, the human brain might be able to create it as well. It's pretty interesting shit, right?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, just talking about that just reminded me of something that I want to also
The people watching are like, why are they talking about drugs?
I mean, you
Also,
have-
just FYI, I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs myself. I don't drink or smoke.
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to do DMT. I've never done it before, but it's not
I
legal
think I'll stay
apparently
away
in
from
the
drugs.
geographical area where I live. Right?
I would love to know more about it in the sense, like, I would love to see how it changes you philosophically.
So I have done
yeah.
magic mushrooms, right? That's the only psychedelic that I've done, and I did it last year
In Germany?
in Germany. Yes. I don't want to get into the details, but let me just talk about the
Yeah.
experience. It was not a huge lot of it, of course, but because I was very scared of it. See, I'm a big fan of Terence McKenna, and he is the person who inspired me about psychedelics. And psychedelics are right now a very hot topic in the academic community.
No, because like, I believe, if I'm not wrong, that if they're used in the right quantity and in a controlled environment, they actually have specific effects on you, positive effects on you, in terms of thought process, in terms of philosophy, and also in some cases in terms of psychological illnesses. Exactly.
Which brings me to one of the examples. Like, I mean, there was an old lady who lost the ability to speak, her balance for 20 years because of a car accident, right? She took 5 grams of psychedelic mushrooms, right? Psilocybin mushrooms, slept for 48 hours.
But these are microdosing also, right?
No, this 5 gram is not a microdose.
Okay.
5 gram is a
What
heroin
would
dose,
be considered? Okay.
right? So, like, you will see stuff for sure. If you're not, then you're just different. Some people just don't have a high on mushrooms.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And what I did, I can tell you a little bit. Of course, let me just finish about her. After 48 hours of sleep, she woke up. She could speak for the first time in the last 20 years.
That is wild, man.
And she can go to and use the washroom herself, which she couldn't before that.
That is wild.
That
is absolutely wild.
It's
almost like a chemical rewiring of your brain, man.
That's exactly what it does.
Really?
Precisely. Exactly.
Oh.
I mean, what it's doing is it's doing neural regeneration,
Right.
repair, right? And all those connections in your neurons, which are not supposed to be connected, that gets connected suddenly.
Makes sense.
And that's what gives you this heightened sense of experience and paranoia sometimes, right? But I didn't go through that kind of thing.
Won't that paranoia be directly related to the kind of state of mind you're in before you ingest it?
That is definitely true.
Yeah.
100%. So I took preparation for 3 weeks. I mean, because I was shit scared of doing that.
No, I can imagine.
I've read a lot about it. So
I can imagine.
I would not just pop up 2-3 grams of mushrooms if you just offer me right now. Right? I mean, I'll take some time. I'll take it very slow. I have all the time in the world to do this. That's how I like to see it.
Right.
It had a huge change on me.
I'm more interested in knowing. I know that psychedelics bring a certain change in how you see the world once you've done it.
Yes.
What would you say your changes are to that? You don't have to be very specific,
Yeah,
but
it's
then
very
just something
very hard to articulate actually.
Yeah, just something that comes out of your mind in the moment, maybe.
Firstly, the sense of time has changed.
Okay.
Drastically.
Like, as in, like, time, space, or more of like just valuing time kind of thing?
I think just the experience of time.
Okay.
Right? Like, I mean, of course, valuing is an add-on to that whole valuation of that experience. It's very hard to articulate it, of course. The one thing that I've faced, which I've really not faced it in, like, as I think the last time I had a very similar experience was when I was a kid, and that is I could feel what a plant feels, right? And I could just position myself without any discomfort in the shoes of a plant, and no hearing, like just for a second, if you think that you can't see, you can't hear, you can't taste, you can't smell, you can't touch or have any sensation of touch, do you still exist?
It's almost like being preserved in a glass jar.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But imagine that you have some awakening inside of you.
Is that an actual phenomenon though? As in, like, somebody preserving someone's conscious brain in some way?
Well, that's a
that sounds very
kind of
pseudo.
a territory, but
yeah, it is fringe, exactly. It's
very
basically
fringe.
science.
Sure, but
Because there's another experiment in fringe science which correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that has also been proven, right? Where you listen to some kind of white noise,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then I'm forgetting what's it, something consciousness.
Like you change your brain waves?
Yeah, like you know how like you've seen the TV show Fringe?
Yes.
Right. So in
Yes.
Fringe, they do this experiment where Liz has been put into this particular cabinet which has salt water in it, and then she's floating on
The
salt
tank,
water.
the isolation tank.
Isolation tank.
Yes, yes,
Isolation
yes, yes,
tank.
yes.
And that essentially helps you dive into a certain sense of telepathy where you can get into someone else's consciousness
You're talking
and you
of
can talk to them.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things also has that actually. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Stranger Things also. That girl, Millie Bobby Brown. L. Oh yeah, her name was also L.
Yeah.
Achha, no. Yeah. Because in Fringe it was Elizabeth, and in Stranger Things it was 11. Right.
She was the 11th
Correct. Yeah.
iteration of.
But they both. It's the exact same experiment, and I had looked into it, and that experiment actually existed.
Oh, in Germany, by the way, you have isolation tanks. You can just rent it out for an hour or so.
So what is the deal with that? Like,
so
what
firstly,
does
it
it
has
actually...
salt water, so you will float,
right,
without effort,
right.
So that's the first thing that.
Yeah, because I can't swim.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
Good thing.
All right. I love swimming, man. But
please, nobody drown me.
You don't want to play in ships.
Yeah. Maybe I should buy a carbon fiber guitar so I can use it as a pedal boat.
Oh my god.
They're waterproof.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're amazing guitars, by the way.
Some of them are actually pretty good. But anyway, I'm digressing.
Yeah, I mean, see, man, that's fringe territory, of course. But I can tell you for sure that reality is much stranger than you can think, for sure. Right? Like, I mean, the first thing that I noticed was, like, the what is that called? The lime that you put in the walls, basically, the white kind of thing, the first layer of coating.
Oh, primer?
Primer
or plaster?
Plaster, whatever, man. I mean,
like the one that solidifies.
Yes.
That's plaster.
Right. And you know that the wall becomes basically uneven a little bit.
Yeah. In fact, these walls are slightly uneven. They're done by hand.
This is very smooth compared to the kind of.
If you actually look towards the bottom, it's not. You see
all
that?
right.
But because these are all done by hand, so they're not very straight.
Yeah. I mean the thing that we call tuna, basically, and so my room was basically something like that. Right. And it had these uneven patterns.
Right.
And I did like about 1.5 to 2 grams first of the mushroom. Because I wanted to wait.
So you took the mushrooms and you went into the isolation tank?
No, I did not go into the isolation tank. I mean, but
it would be wild.
Yeah, that would be wild. But I mean, it was a very interesting kind of an experience, because that was the first time I actually hallucinated in my life. Like I knew I was hallucinating.
Right.
Okay, I it's not like I lost my head or something. Like, I was very conscious. All those things just started moving. Those uneven patterns started locomoting, basically. And I could see, that's when I understood, okay, something has happened now.
Right.
This is not supposed to happen in the normal world.
But it sounds like a pretty cool experience nonetheless. If done in a positive way.
It will change. It definitely has huge, impactful experiences. And I mean, if you take DMT, there's a laser experiment, which I'll give you a link to. You must dig this. I mean, it's so fun, man. Because these lasers, basically, they have these patterns, right? A diffraction laser, basically. And if you look into it, after doing DMT, you see code. Because, see, man, this is not real, of course, right? This is code, basically, right? Like, it has a certain length, a breadth, a software. I mean,
it's physical dimensions, basically.
Physical dimension. And that's what is the most prized thing about reality. Like, the reason why we value the pyramids is because it's code. And it has lived for thousands of years, right? And that's all that is, a code that could stand centuries and millenniums, basically, right? And when you
so by code, we are referring to anything that has some kind of dimension.
Information.
Okay.
You are also code, in a way, of course. But then, of course, I mean, I don't have the answer to all the questions, definitely, but I mean, it was a very liberating experience. I had a very positive experience, right? I was scared of the bad trip, of course. I did not go through the bad trip. I could feel what a plant feels like a tree. I could literally sense that there's a, like, I was a tree, and there's this building in front of me, and a couple is quarreling. I just can hear vibrations from the earth, and can make an estimation of what the couple is going through. That was, if I have to articulate it I'm doing a bad job at articulating it, because it's almost impossible to articulate it.
No, of course, I'm sure. Yeah. Especially for somebody who's not done it.
Right.
But I mean, I think I'm still understanding where it's going, though.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing, man.
Yeah. I want to probe a little bit about the future, like, I mean, in the next 10 years, because a lot of things are going to change, of course. And I just want to know a little bit about how you see the education scene changing, because it's going to drastically change for sure with the democratization of information, of course. And we also see a lot of rise in consumption of acoustic folk music, things that are like, coming out of the grass or something like that, you can put it, right? And so, because we envy the village-like lifestyle, basically, right? Living in the cities. And like when 10-15 years back, I mean, it was still rapid amount of urbanization was happening. Like, at least in this country, for sure, it's still happening, right? And in 10 years, this country at least will go to a very far extent when it comes to technological development. And I mean, we did talk about all these things in the first podcast, where you mentioned about your first phone and all that jazz, right?
Yeah.
And again, the reality is basically having its own set of constraints under which it performs. Like, you can have acoustic, you can make it electric and make it available and be distributed to millions of people. That's one angle of the thing. Development is, of course, a different kind of an angle, because which continuously happens and happens and happens. What kind of innovations do you see in the education department and in the entire music performance side of things, these two areas primarily, in the next 10 years? What's
I mean, we don't even have to look into the next 10 years, because it's already happening.
Yes.
And that is basically the use of AI in live performance, in instruments, in teaching, all of the different sectors.
What are its limitations?
Limitations, I would say, the limitation actually, I feel, has more to do with the person using it than the artificial intelligence itself. Sure, artificial intelligence will need more fine-tuning over time, but I think that fine-tuning will happen, because people are gathering data, and that data is being fed to make the artificial intelligence stronger. But the thing is, the people using it, on the other hand, maybe only 10% are actually using it right. The other 80 to 90% are sort of using it like Google. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you use artificial intelligence like Google, chances are it's not really going to work in your favor to that extent. Right? Because you and I both know it's about the prompts you give. If the right prompts are not given, it's not going to be very helpful for you. You've seen these multiple videos of somebody trying to learn guitar through Chat GPT, and then like, there's this one Instagram video. If you search for it, I'm sure you'll find this person basically is asking Chat GPT that, hey, I'm going to show you this idea, you tell me how it sounds. Okay, the guy literally played a fart sound.
I've seen this one.
And ChatGPT is actually giving like some kind of an analytical response to that, which makes
to giant
no
steps,
sense.
I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the guy said that, give me feedback on my solo on giant steps, and he literally just played a fart. Okay. So that is not exactly good use. On the other hand, there are brands like IK Multimedia who have come up with the ToneX pedal, the ToneX Mini or something like that. ToneX 1, I think they call it, which actually uses AI to create tones or something like that. I don't know very well exactly what, but it does use AI in it. Then there's another pedal by Moore, which also uses AI to create tones for you. If you give the prompts, it'll create a tone for you.
That's fun.
Yeah, I have a student in Bangalore who has built his own app. This is for like guitar practice basically, and it has a feature in it where it has an AI backing track maker. So if you give the right, it still needs a lot of work in his case, but then if over time, if it manages to work on the prompts properly and it manages to gather enough data, I think it can turn into something pretty cool. So the
Right.
use of AI is already there, man.
It is. But what about the business model, basically? Like, I mean,
Oh,
recently you saw
business
about
model
Suno
wise,
AI. I think that
Suno AI, I
they
think
got
is,
leaked. Their source code got leaked, and it was taken by.
but Suno AI, I see it as Spotify, as bad as Spotify. That is, I'm not exactly much of a supporter of Spotify. For multiple, I don't want to get into that. I just don't particularly like that. I don't particularly like the views of the owner of Spotify related to music, but that's again my thing, my belief. If
But the
somebody
cat
can
is out
change
of
my
the.
belief,
True,
good.
true, true. But the cat is out of the bag. Like, I mean, everybody can technically listen to music for free.
Yeah,
And
I just don't want to play a part in it. That's all.
sure,
Yeah, so I don't use Spotify. I use Apple Music, but I don't use Spotify. Maybe that's just Apple supremacy. I don't know.
maybe.
Maybe it's just Apple supremacy. But I do feel Apple Music has higher quality audio than
It
Spotify for
does. It
sure.
does. It
So
does.
that's one of the reasons I use it.
I mean, you'll never get a FLAC kind of sound in Spotify
No, no way.
because it's highly
No way.
compressed.
No way. And I also feel Apple Music has a stricter policy of letting music in. You have more AI playlists on Spotify than you have on Apple. In
Yeah,
fact, I'm not sure if you even have AI playlists on Apple.
I'm not very sure about that, but I
Yeah,
can
like
clearly
YouTube
imagine
is filled with it. YouTube is
YouTube is
filled with
filled
AI
with it.
music. Spotify is also filled with AI music. Right now, the thing is, to normal ears, untrained ears, you're not gonna hear the difference between an AI blues player and an actual blues player. But I can. I know how long a note can sustain. Even if it like they manage to make a Stratocaster sound like a Stratocaster, I can still tell if by just hearing how that note is sustaining, if that's played by a real human being or not. You know, you can tell. Honestly
But
speaking,
would it matter to you if it plays better than humans?
would it matter to me? No.
You would listen to it?
Maybe. Just depends. And the thing is, any AI music I've heard so far, it's all essentially very generic stuff that you would hear if you're trying to analyze any style of music anyway.
Yeah.
You listen to any of the AI blues playlists on YouTube, it's literally every single generic lick that you would hear Buddy Guy, BB King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, or somebody else play. All generic licks, but they're used in a good way. You're not going to hear much of Scott Henderson over there. No way. You are not going to hear much of Scott Henderson over there. You're
The
not
time to
going to
train an
hear,
AI model using Scott
yeah,
Henderson data.
you're not going to hear much of that Robin Ford sound in there.
Yeah, they are
But
eccentric.
yeah, but you will hear a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan sounds in there. You will hear BB King in there. You will hear Eric Clapton in there. You will hear all these more popular ones comparatively in there. Right.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, it will sound good if it's literally just using that data and quite literally replicating it. It's bound to sound good.
Right. Maybe last question. Like, would you have any advice for people who are basically, starting out music, have an honest heart, wants to do good in life, and I mean, wants to just dive deep into the subject matter, got fascinated by it by listening to something amazing, also confused because of too many things happening at the same time, right? Because that's we have overproduction and over distribution of the information that we are you know what I'm talking about, of course. Like, there is too much of everything. What would you suggest to study more deeply, which is
I'll
all.
tell you what worked for me. Number one, listen to comparatively lesser artists. Just because you have access to thousands of artists doesn't mean you have to listen to thousands of artists. You want to like have some focus. So maybe spend a few months listening to two artists, but listen to them properly. Listen to their albums, listen to their discographies, listen to their singles. Try to transcribe something from there, make it your own, analyze it, use it in a different context. Then spend another 3 months with a different artist, maybe, you know, rather than randomly changing artists. I think focus is the most important thing that lacks in anybody who's starting off.
Right.
Next, being resilient. There are going to be many parts of your journey where you feel like quitting, but you got to just keep going. You can't just quit. I would have quit now. Otherwise, yeah, but every time you feel like quitting, you have to tell yourself that, yeah, quitting is not an option.
It feels terrible, like when you are hit hard on the face.
Yeah, but quitting is not an option. If you quit, you're not built for it. It's as simple as that. Right? Next thing is more of like a mindset. If you are trying to go and tell a teacher that, hey, can you teach me something interesting? You are the problem, not the teacher. Everything in music is interesting. If you're finding something, if you're finding lack of interesting things in music, you don't find music interesting yet. And you have a long way to go. So you have to keep your mind open about these things. Like, what the fuck?
And how about FOMO?
Fear of missing out? Um, that's like, just human nature. To some degree, everybody is gonna have that. But that's like related to earlier what we were talking about, that you gotta not give a fuck. Like fear of missing out is, and what can you say? It just depends on the kind of person you are. I believe that if you use whatever kind of person you are, if you're somebody who would rather go and socialize with somebody for fear of missing out, but if you can get something good out of it, nothing wrong in that, right? Rather, if you're going out and socializing and you're not getting anything useful out of it, clearly fear of missing out is not helping you. So at that point, you have to not give a shit, right?
Right.
What
Right.
else kind of advice can I give? Stay curious. Like,
Right.
in my opinion, nobody should stick to just one style for the rest of their lives.
Sure.
The whole point of being creative is to explore things, be it improvisation, composition, whatever you talk about, whatever instrument you're
But we
talking
have
about.
finite bandwidth and energy. Like, I mean, if let's say a kid is going to school and seeing that, like, a guy like Jacob Collier, like who can loop, play the saxophone, play the bass, play the guitar, play the piano, sing, and you
They
can't do
they
all
are
of it.
also not limiting themselves, are they?
No, they are not. But
Exactly.
but 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 isn't that basically kind of like a? Is it a distraction or is it a healthy thing? Like, I mean, to dive deep into all of the things at the same time.
All of the things at the same time, in some rare cases, it works out well. In my case, it did not. Right. I bought a saxophone, but it's really more of a showpiece at this point. But guitar, on the other hand, I'm laser focused on it.
Right.
So, for if it works out for you, good. But if you can clear, like, you have to be analytical of yourself. If you can't tell if you are enjoying something or not, there's something wrong. If you can't analyze where you're at, that needs to be worked on first, because a good chunk of how you're going to improve is directly related to how you absorb information and how you use information and what you do with that information. So if your observation skills and your information absorbing skills are not up to the mark, you need to work on that first. And to work on that, you have to simplify things. Right? Like, you can't be like, yeah, I want to sound like Tom Quill, but you can't freaking play a note on time. Right. In fact, a lot of students I teach, their sense of rhythm is very bad. They've never practiced with a metronome. A lot of musicians I know have never practiced with a metronome. Once the band is quiet, they can't play a single thing on time. I think that's fundamental, man.
An internal sense of time.
Yeah. If the body can't have an internal sense of time, what are you trying to improvise? I think people jump into the idea of improvisation too quickly. improvisation is composition in the moment. It's not just some random thing to play over a scale or like, one chord progression based on a scale. In fact, the greatest improvisers don't even think of scales. They think of harmonic movements, they think of changes, they think of storylines, they think of philosophy. And anybody, most people I come across, or most people who ask me about improvisation, they don't think of any of those things. All they think of is scales, arpeggios. Chord voicings are fine, but scales and arpeggios are the most common things that I'm asked about. Like, I was trying to improvise, but I couldn't figure out what scale it is. Don't think of the damn scale. Think of the harmony. The harmony is what you're trying to outline. If you don't understand the harmony, your problem is fundamental. So if your fundamental is not strong, you should not even attempt to improvise. You should only spend time composing first. Improvisation will come to you either if you're born with some kind of a gene where it's naturally coming to you, where it's God's gift to you, or you have to work towards it. It wasn't God's gift to me, I would still work towards it. And my method of working towards it is you compose to a point where your own compositions become so easy for you that you have a certain amount of control over it, that you can manipulate things in a moment. Right? It's like creating vocabulary. You know a lot of words, but you can keep changing the tone whenever you want to. You can keep changing the dynamics of your voice whenever you want to. You can keep changing the dynamics of the way you're pronouncing a word, which in turn will change the impact that word will have over the other person. That's what I mean by having vocabulary and having control over it. That is when you learn to improvise. Right?
Man, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, man. As always.
Yeah. Catching up soon.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. This was a fairly long episode, huh?
Yeah, but a fun one.
Yeah. So let's see whenever this happens again.
For sure.
Bye.
Ciao.